Folks, welcome back. Today we are going to talk about selling your collectibles, investments. I really don't care what you call them. We're going to talk about selling. I know a lot of people have been noticing some of the stagnation happening across the market. Rudy Alpha Investments actually made a video recently talking about how he didn't see much growth for the rest of the year in a lot of these TCG products. And we did just have that Destin Rivals restock, which did drop the price and correct it a bit. And so a lot of people have been reaching out asking about my views on selling. And I know some people out there think like I'm against selling because I'm for holding long term, but that's definitely not the case. Everyone's situation is different. Everybody has different goals, different views on the market, where they see it, at now and where they see it in the future, where they think they can do better with their finances, other things they've going on in their lives. There's a million different reasons that people will sell or choose not to sell. And so nobody can answer that question for you. It's always going to be your decision, no one else's. But I do want to give my takes on some of the basics surrounding selling in this market, and hopefully it helps. So here's my first take. If you are thinking of selling anything that you want, like you're going to want for the long term, but you just think you can kind of time the market and, sell it because you think it's at its highs and you think things are going to drop and you're going to be able to buy it back cheaper and save money, that is the one time I do kind of urge people not to sell. That's like the only reason, because timing the market's very hard. And also when you sell collectibles, you incur fees and you incur risk. And what I mean is selling fees on major platforms, right? When you take in the selling fees and the shipping, it usually eats up about 15%. You're looking at like 85. If you're selling to other people who buy out collections, normally they're going to offer you 85, 80 or less percentage. And then maybe you can get a little higher percentages. People are willing to pay you a little under market, but a little above that on like a Facebook or an Instagram or a Discord. And you can pay friends and family and, take some risk there and whatever. And maybe you can do a little better. Either way, you're going to eat some sort of costs in the form of fees and shipping. All right. You're also going to incur risk. Every time you make a transaction, there's always inherent risk, with shipping, with damage, with scams, all that good stuff. And so if you're going to go through all of that, you have to understand you're betting that product now falls greater than the money that you ate by, incurring a transaction. And so basically it would have to fall at least 10, 15% from where it's at just for you to be even while doing all the work of selling and then buying back. So really what you're actually looking for is the product to fall at least 20 to 30% at minimum to even make the sale worthwhile. Again, if it's something you want to buy back. And so for me, the reason I don't sell a lot of this stuff, everyone asks, I personally don't see the majority of anything on the market falling 20 to 30% in the near term. And so for me, it doesn't make sense to make a ton of transactions and sell and try to buy back all of this to try to save 5, 10, 15%. That's just me, right? But I'm more of a long-term investor. I'm not much of a day trader or much of kind of like trying to time the markets and make the absolute most percentage. But hey, if you can do that and you're confident in it and you've done well at it, do it. I have nothing against it. I just warn against that and urge most people not to, because most people, the majority, can't do that effectively enough, especially even in the buyback, right? The buyback, you have to make sure you're buying, before it bounces off the lows and jumps back up. And now you're not even really saving much. You did all this work for nothing. So just be cautious with that, thinking that you're going to sell at the highs and buy at the lows, and understand exactly how low it has to go to really make sense for the transaction. Because I don't know about you, 5, 10%, if you happen to get it right, probably isn't worth it that much. You're probably going to want to see like a 30% correction on the item to really make it make sense to make that sell and that buy transactions. So that's the first thing I want to mention. Now, if we're talking about items that you have major gains on and you're ready to wipe your hands with it and say, you know what, I don't care if I ever get it back. I'm happy with the gains I've made in the time frame I made. I'm ready to move that money to something else. I don't see this item performing as well as other things that I could put the money into, or I just want to have cash on the sidelines. I think more deals are coming. Now we can talk. Now it may be a good time to realize some of those gains, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a successful investment that panned out the way you wanted it to, realizing those gains and taking the cash, doing other things you need to do with it, putting it into something else, or keeping it on the sidelines, waiting for more deals to come on restocks, reprints, whatever it may be. And so absolutely, Now, I'm not going to shout out specific items, right? Like, oh, I would sell this right now. I would sell that right now. But yeah, there's definitely items in the market that are still near or at their all-time highs that have risen significantly in the past year that, you may think that it's had a relatively large amount of its gains already made in its life cycle. And you're not, crossing your fingers that it's going to be the next team up, the next Phantom Forces, flash fire, and you're ready to move on to something else, that's at a lower price point, newer, that has, just a better chance of seeing significant gains in the months or years to come. And that's absolutely fine, right? That could be time to sell. And don't let anyone make you feel weird about that, right? Also, don't buy into the crazy stuff either way, right? Whenever you hear the crazy stuff either way, you kind of know it's time to turn away. The whole market crashing, everything's going to be, back to, $100 a box, back to MSRP. No one's going to want this stuff. Or everything's going to go to $500 a box on Scarlet Violet in this next year. You need to get it now. Both of those are crazy, right? It's probably going to be somewhere in the middle, right? There will probably be certain cards. I could definitely see certain cards having spikes, especially near the out of print time. We've seen it happen every time in the past. Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, XY. When things get to that out of print date and after, you do normally see movement. The sealed product has movement, usually not as much. Some of the single cards usually have crazy movements. Now, sometimes they correct, sometimes they, whatever. It's hard to pick exactly which cards are going to have the major movements, but there are still a lot of big events coming up. Like I said, out of print date for early Scarlet Violet sets next April. We got, obviously the anniversary coming up next year. A lot of these mega sets seem to be that they're going to be pretty hot, and they could do well and keep people really engaged and really opening packs, which could then, use some of these new sets as catalysts to say, oh yeah, there's other cards like that back in XY or Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet Violet. And it could kind of have some cross collecting there. There's a lot of things that can happen, but I understand kind of the hesitancy of a lot of newer people to the hobby that this is their first time seeing things kind of flatten off, and you don't open your collector app every single day and see it up another $1,000, another $10,000, whatever level you're at. And that's fine. That's normal. Nothing to freak out about unless, again, you are freaked out and you don't believe in this stuff the way other people do, then you sell it. It's simple as that. I'm not here to give you some big answer that no one's told you. If you do not believe in what you're invested in, you sell. And now you're going to say, well, Alex, then are you selling? No, because I believe in it, right? I've been here. I've seen the ups and downs, right? I've seen everything go from all-time highs in 2021 and dip to all-time lows, not all-time lows, but crazy lows in 2022. And I've seen all those products work their way all the way back and eclipse the highs of 2021. Let's talk about dollar cost averaging. If you own positions at whatever dollar point you want to say, I own boxes at $300 a piece, $400 a piece, and the price drops in half, drops to $150, drops to $200. If you dollar cost average in, you reduce the rate at which it needs to rise again. You reduce your cost basis to where it doesn't even have to go to the old highs for you to be actually break even and still make money. And the more you buy in, if things drop, the lower and lower that cost basis gets. You own one box or one case at $400 a box, it drops to $200. You own another box there. Now your cost basis is $300. But what if you bought 2 times, 3 times, 4 times as much when the product drops? Well, now your cost basis gets really close to the prices you're paying now, and now it barely has to recover for you to actually be up on the entire investment. Here's the other side of that scenario. What if some of the sets don't get reprinted? What if some of the market doesn't fall and it just keeps running and running and running? That is why I myself continue to hold, even though, people are worried that things might drop a little bit, because in the circumstance they don't, and I can't dollar cost average in at lower prices, at least I got some of it, right? I've never been an all or nothing person, right? I don't buy everything at one price and sell everything at another price. I always average in positions and I always average out of positions. So that way I'm never too low or too high on things. I'm never so, lost in regret that I didn't, hold till it hit the all-time highs, or I didn't buy at the all-time lows. But at the same time, I'm never at all-time highs where I'm like, oh man, I caught that low perfectly. I caught that high perfectly. I'm on top of the world, because that feeling doesn't last. And eventually when you play that game enough times, you're not going to get it right. You're going to be very upset with yourself. Whereas when you stay closer to the middle, you're going to stay even keel. You're not going to ever get too high or too low when it comes to investing. And that's the kind of mindset you want to have to be successful long term, right? We're not playing, try to catch the next meme coin here. We're playing how to grow wealth sustainably over time. And so when it comes to selling, guys, those are the reasons you sell. You no longer believe in the market. You no longer believe in certain products, or you truly believe that you're good at timing markets and you think that certain things you own are going to drop in excess of 20 to 30%, and you're actually going to be able to make a good amount of margin there to make sense to sell and buy back in. It is risky. I don't really recommend it, but that's your prerogative. So that's my take on what's going on. If you want to know what I'm doing, what is Alex doing? We got to see what Alex is doing. Nothing. Not doing anything. I'm running business like normal. I'm keeping all my sealed long-term holdings away. I'm continuing to run my streams. I'm continuing to list, any collection buyouts that I buy out. Here's how my business works. If you guys want to know, because I know some people will see stuff for sale sometimes. Like, Alex, you said you weren't selling. You're selling out. No, I buy out collections. And usually those collections have certain things I want in them, certain things I really do not want. But if I can get them at a low enough cost, I can make a margin on them. I can flip the things I don't want, keep the things I do want. So whenever you see me selling things, that is usually, I would say 99% of what I'm selling is things that I got in a collection. I kept anything I wanted out of the collection, whether it be for streams, for long-term holdings, for short-term plays on slabs. And then I sell off anything I really don't want to hold and I really didn't want, but hey, I got it for 75, 80%, whatever it is. I can make a little margin on it. I can move it. And that's how I operate things. And so that's how I'm going to continue to operate, guys. I'm not changing anything going into Q4, going into November, December, going into January. I'll keep you guys updated if that changes, but that is kind of my view on the market. That is my plan going forward. It's still business as usual. Like I said before, guys, businesses operate in bull markets, in bear markets, in flat markets. It doesn't matter. As long as you're consistent, you'll be successful in this hobby. Consistency over time equals profit. That's all I got. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be back in a new one soon. I'm out.